Thank you. And we've got a fantastic song. We will rise up. Again, we're challenged, ladies and gentlemen. Now, a person who's no stranger to speaking out against domestic violence, family violence, is Mr. Jamie Chalker APM, Commissioner of Northern Territory Police Force, and CEO of the Fire and Emergency Services. Please make it.
I think we've unearthed a superstar. Congratulations, that was fantastic. Very privileged to be here this morning, and particularly acknowledge that we meet on Larrakia land and acknowledge the elders past, present, and emerging. I spoke last year, sadly 12 months on. The territory situation is worse than it's been. I stand in front of you with a sense of failure, and I have to reconcile that as a police force, we can only do so much. There's something incredibly missing in the Northern Territory as it relates to empathy for one another, for true love for one another, and the true importance of a vibrant, inclusive, safe Northern Territory. I want to acknowledge every victim and let you know that as the front line, we understand your pain. We understand your challenges, and we want to keep being better to help you. And we don't always get it right. And I can tell you firsthand over the course of this year, when we haven't got it right, other police officers have tried to correct that behaviour, and then it becomes as a lie of a system that wants to push back on us improving services to you. What I want to say to all of you in this room, but also to the Northern Territory community, is you will not silence me. You will not silence the police officers that get out of their bed for every shift to go and serve and protect the Northern Territory. When you come to us, when you call us, we will be there. And our job is to make sure that happens 100% of the time. The sad reality of where we were to where we are is that alcohol remains an extremely pervasive commodity in the Northern Territory. And its direct correlation to family and domestic violence is clear. Prior to the COVID-19 emergency response commencing in March of 2020, we'd actually seen a significant decline in assaults in the Northern Territory, alcohol-related involvements, and family and domestic violence. We've tracked the last 10 years, and in the last 12 months, we've seen more assaults, more alcohol-related assaults, and more family and domestic violence assaults than previously. And we have tracked it to the increased money that became available through the COVID response federal payments, through the superannuation early access, of which the Northern Territory was the highest per capita take-up. We saw bottles of rum selling in remote communities for $900 a bottle. And as recently as yesterday, I was advised that people from a remote community are coming into Darwin because they can get access to wine for $100 as opposed to $400 out in community. I'm going to touch on a couple of stories, and I appreciate that this might impinge some people's comfortableness. There's been 2 incidents that have occurred in the Northern Territory in recent times that give an indication of the pervasiveness and, sadly, the quickness of violence. An Aboriginal woman laying in a mattress at home. It's occurring in Darwin, Palmerston. With steel cap boots, her husband proceeded to kick her in the face. She suffered significant facial injuries, and we responded. And St John's responded. And she was conveyed to the hospital, and health responded. And then the various NGOs responded. From one incident. And we're dealing with nearly 10,000 a year. So extrapolate that. And then we had homicide down in Alice Springs, where a woman sought shelter from a violent partner. And he poured accelerant over the door and under the door and set it alight. She passed away due to those injuries, and he passed away due to the injuries sustained. And that victim, only hours earlier, sent a text message to her young daughter that said, "Today your dad is going to kill me. I love you. Please don't cry for me." And we didn't know. And her community didn't know. We need to do things far better. To have a victim feel so helpless that her thoughts were to try and provide some level of support and comfort to her child, knowing what sadly then transpired. And again, police responded to that incident in St John's, and health services, not only in the Northern Territory but in South Australia. And then the trauma of that family, the trauma within that community. And did we see that in national headlines? Look at the response to some of the homicides that have occurred. Look at the marches and the protests that go on. And ask yourself, as a community, are we protesting about the right things? The No More campaign is all about speaking out. As a group, we should never be silenced on this, but we have to take more proactive action. We have to call it out on every occasion. We have to be more supportive. We have to let the people know we can and will help them. As police, we try our best. But what is inexcusable is that we constantly remain the primary 24/7 agency on the ground. Christmas Day, it doesn't matter what day. We're there. So when you hear the various rhetoric about the failings of police and the increase in property crime, why do you think the youth of today, particularly Aboriginal youth, are out and about causing you levels of distress as a community? And Imagine how unsafe you would feel if in your family home, the matriarch of your family was such a constant victim of assault. Over 10 years of data tells us 70% of all victims in the Northern Territory have been Aboriginal women. 80% of the offenders have been Aboriginal men. It's indisputable. And with the increase that we've seen in alcohol and the violence that's flowed, you can be very reassured, sadly, that trauma is going to hurt us in another 10 to 15 years of those youth, particularly the early childhood. And that alcohol consumption also will tell us and foreshadow that we will be dealing with more incidents of mental health and FASD presentations. So it's not an exciting future. But we must change our ways. We must have the honest conversation. We must acknowledge this is not exclusively an Aboriginal problem. But unfortunately in the Northern Territory, we have to do far more because the government interventions at a federal level at the moment unfortunately have far more pervasive impacts than they do in other jurisdictions. We will continue to take up the challenge of trying to make the Northern Territory as safe as we can. My people will continue to serve and protect, and they will take home all the demons of every exposure, of every family and domestic violence incident, and every non-family and domestic violence incident, and contend with that, knowing they're there to make a difference. So, as a community, a lot more empathy,